It is so toasty in here. I closed the door and now I'm regretting that. Hi everybody, my name is Kelsey and we're about to get very, very nerdy with August's TBR. So it's time for yet another TBR. This time it's for August. How on earth have we gotten here? Who knows? This year has quite literally flown by. But we're here to do August's TBR from my lovely TBR game, The Basket of Reads. If you are new here, welcome. I will leave linked above my very first TBR game of the year, where I kind of go into details and some new things that are happening this year. But without further ado, let's get in and take a quick look at last month's before we dive in to this month, because it was an interesting time in July. Good golly, this is heavy. Here is a look at the books that I picked out in July. I did have one punishment pick, so there are 9 here. But we have The Secret Bridesmaid, which was to read a standalone. And then we have Across the Green Grass Fields, which was to read a book released this year, or last year. And then we have A Curse So Dark and Lonely, which was to read a book with nature on the cover. We have Spin the Dawn, which was to read a book you bought new. The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which was to read, I think it was my Goodreads TBR, where randomly generated Goodreads, and that's what came out. We have A Bygone About Us Broads, which was to read a 5-star prediction. Oh goodness, Act Your Age, Eve Brown, which was to read a book with a light cover. The One, which was to read a book out of my comfort zone. And finally, The Girl Who Speaks Bear, which was to read a book that I put on pause. So with about a week-ish left in the month, I usually film these early, we have 5 books that I have not finished yet, so let's talk about this. Act Your Age, Eve Brown, I'm currently in the middle of, so I'm definitely going to finish that in the next couple of days. Across the Green Grass Fields is a buddy read with my friend Teresa, and we decided to start at the end of the month, so I haven't started that one yet, but it will be at the end of next week. I'm filming this on a Friday, so Monday we will start it, and I will finish that in like a day or two. And then A Curse So Dark and Lonely I will also finish next week, because it is for a video project, which you guys will see. I don't think it's the next video, but maybe the one after that. Really, really soon you're going to see the video project this is for. So I have to finish that one in the week, which leaves these 2, which is The One and The Secret Bridesmaid. Now, I had no desire to pick up The One this month. I kind of hit a little bit of a slump in the middle of July. Like, not really. I was still reading. I was still kind of like forcing my way through, hoping I would find the end of this slump somewhere. And I did about basically the last like week and a half of the month, I kind of have finally gotten out of it. So I'm not going to worry about trying to get to The One. It's not something that I really want on my radar right now. I'm trying to read things that I'm really interested in, and this is just one that like I'm going to put off for a little bit, and we'll get to it eventually. So I'm going to take a punishment for this one because I'm not going to worry about it. And then The Secret Bridesmaid, I did start this. I am 75 pages into this. I started this when I was on vacation at the beginning of the month and came back home, and that's when the slump hit. So I'm not going to force myself to finish this. I'm still really excited about it. I'm still going to hold out hope that I will finish this at some point, but I'm not going to force my way through it. So I'm going to go ahead and take 2 punishments for these 2 to tack on to the 8, so that leaves at least 10 if nothing crazy happens. That we will be picking this month. So I've got some things I want to get on my radar, some things that I've really been wanting to read, and some mangas and graphic novels I really want to get to because I've been collecting a lot of those and I'd like to actually get to them. So I have plans. We'll see if the basket is nice to me, but let's get right into the first pick. Pick number 1 for August is this one. Read a Jane Austen related book. The first one's to pick a book inspired by Jane Austen, which is great because I have so many of those. But I think I'm going to go with a contemporary romance. I'm feeling that right now. And that is Jane in Love by Rachel Givney. So this is mostly set in the present, that's why I'm calling it contemporary, but it does start in the past with Jane Austen at the beginning of her writing career. And she somehow gets transported to the future on a movie set where they're remaking one of her books, Northanger Abbey, which was one of the last ones that she wrote. She's on the set and she's starting to realize that like her books, people actually like them and are excited about them and are turning them into movies and stuff. And so then I think she starts falling for one of the guys on the set, and because she's staying in the present, the material that she has written, all of her books, start to disappear. So this just sounds like a fun contemporary romance with like a very time travel-y sci-fi twist, and I've had it for a few months and I'm very excited about it. So this is the one I'm going to read for that. Pick number 2. Oh, okay, go with this one. Which, maybe, there we go. Read a book based on current events. So the next one is a book based on current events, which was a little hard for me to get because I've got a lot of things that are not really based on anything. They're just fun or they're fantasy. But I'm gonna go with Slay by Brittany Morris. This follows our main character, Kira, who is 17. Yes, and she creates this game that is for, it's an all-black game. It's for black players, for them to just kind of come, and it's like a safe space for them. And then there is a death in the real world based on something that happened in the game, and so people are starting to call for like who could create this, and then a bunch of white people I think are crowding in on a black safe space. So I picked this because, you know, race is a very heavy, big, important topic right now in, at least I would say, the world, but specifically in the US because that's where I live, and it's something that should be talked about. So I wanted to read this because I've heard incredible things about this book and her writing, and I really just wanted to give it a try, and I haven't yet. So this is my current events book. Pick number 3. Oh, there we go. And this one is Read a Book Out of Your Comfort Zone. I feel like we've gotten this one a bunch. So the next one was to read a book out of your comfort zone, and I'm convinced that this is in here twice because I had this last month. So I'm going to take this one specifically out and make sure we only have one, but I did get it 3 times within 6 months, so I am going to tack on an extra roll at the end. Not roll, pick, that's what I meant to say. But for a book out of my comfort zone, I'm going to go with one that's a little out of my comfort zone, a little not. It's very confusing, but it's Neon Gods by Katie Roberts. So I have the ebook of this. This is a contemporary inspired by Greek mythology, and Katie Roberts is known as being a very erotic writer, very sexual scenes in her stuff. So I haven't read anything by her, even though all of her stuff sounds super interesting. So I'm gonna say she's, like, the writer specifically is out of my comfort zone because I'm not quite sure what I'm getting into, but I'm excited because it is based on Greek mythology, and we know I love Greek mythology. So this one maybe stretching it a little bit, but that's what I'm gonna choose for this. Number 4. This one. Here we go. Read your next book in the same place the whole time. So the next one was phrased really weirdly, but basically what I mean is to read a book in one sitting, in one spot. So I'm going to go with volume 2 of Dreaming Sun by Ichigo Taganu. This is a new manga series that I have become obsessed with. I read the first volume in June and loved it and have been collecting ever since. So this basically follows our main character, whose name is Shimana, I think. Basically in the first book, the first volume, she runs away from home. Her dad has been remarried and they just had a new kid, and she does not feel loved, appreciated, wanted, etc. there. So she runs away and she meets this man in a garden park somewhere, and he basically offers her a place to live for super cheap. However, she has to do a few things for him, one being telling him why she ran away. The second one is helping him find a key for said apartment because he got locked out based on reasons from the first one, and then the third one is to have a dream and fall in love. And so in the first volume, she's just kind of like basically doing that, finding out who else is living there, it's 2 other boys from her high school, getting to know them a little bit more, and I loved every second of it. So this is the second one in the series, and I'm so excited, but they're super short. There are at least 10 out, so I'm trying to collect all of them and read them because I loved them so much, and I can't wait to jump back into this world because it was incredible. Number, what are we at? 5? 5. Here we go. Ooh, read a retelling. The next one is to read just a general retelling, whatever you want. I have many fairy tale, Greek myth, I don't know, Jane Austen, a ton of different retellings, but I'm going to go with one that was released this year, that came out at the beginning of the year, that I've been so excited about. I just haven't made it a priority, so I'm making it a priority, and that is Lore by Alexander Bracken. This is a standalone fantasy based on Greek mythology, so we follow our main character, whose name I cannot, oh, her name is Lore. Wow. So we follow Lore in this world where there are Aegons, I believe is how it's pronounced, and basically every 5 years the gods are turned into mortals and they fight to be on Mount Olympus, is kind of how I understand that. And Laura was part of this, and so it's been a few years after some tragedy and she said, peace out, I'm done. And then she gets approached by someone who basically is like, can you join my team because I'm gonna fight against, I believe it's Ares, who was the reason, oh, it's Athena. Athena comes to her because I believe Ares is the reason her family is dead. So it's a little bit of a revenge plot, but it's based on Greek myth. I've loved the stuff that I've read by Alexander Bracken. I'm very intrigued by the fact that this is a standalone because that idea feels like it should be a series. And like, this is a quite large book, but I'm so excited to see all of the Greekness of this. So that's my retelling. Number 6. Here we go. Ooh, read a cover by. The next one is to read a cover by, which is perfect. It took me a while to find one because I'm not a huge cover by person. I enjoy covers, but that's not usually the reason I get it. The plot is usually the reason I get it, but I'm going to go with straight up cover by because I picked it up and I'm not even quite sure still what it's about, but that is Stranger in My Arms by Lisa Kleypas. This is one of the gorgeous, apologies for the shine, this is one of the gorgeous kind of mass market paperbacks I picked up from that lovely book warehouse that is near me. But I love this cover, and the step back is really what grabbed my attention. It's incredible. But this follows our main character, Laura, it's probably Laura, whose husband was lost at sea, and then this man shows up claiming to be her husband and knowing all these things that he shouldn't know unless he's her husband, and so she starts to trust him. And it makes it sound in the back that maybe he's actually a stranger and not her husband. I don't know. I've never read a Lisa Kleypas book before, and I've heard she's great. So I'm going to give it a try, but this was 100%. I mean, it was a whole 50 cents, but it was 100% a cover by. So I hope it lives up to it, because it's stunning. All right, number 7. Oh, read a book not set in the US. The next one is to read a book not set in the US, which was really hard. I was trying to get something not set in the US and the UK because I read a lot of books set in the UK, so this was tough, but I think I did it because I'm going to pick up 7 Days, which is by Vino Takabana. This is a standalone manga that's quite thick, but this is set in kind of like a Japanese style high school, so I'm gonna go with this being set in Japan. It doesn't say that it is specifically, but I have a feeling that this was translated into English, so it probably wasn't set in the US. So that's gonna be my reasoning. But this basically follows 2 humans, one third year and one first year. So the first year is notorious for basically dating someone for a week. He gets asked out by a girl on Monday, says, yes, sounds great, and by Sunday they've broken up. And so the third year decides to ask him out and see what's going to happen. So it seems like this beautiful male-male romance, and it seems like the first year, who's the one that basically only dates people for a week, they're gonna have some feelings, and it's going to break the cycle, and I'm excited about it. This sounds fun. So we're gonna give it a try. Number 8. There we go. Read a romance. The next one is just to read a romance. Perfect. I love it. I'm going to pick up The Honey Don't List by Christina Lauren. I am just in the mood for romance right now, and I'm really loving what I've been reading. So we're going to pick up Christina Lauren because they are one of my favorite romance writers. It is this 2-woman writing duo, and they write some of my favorite things. So this is just one of the ones that I haven't read by them. I'm slowly like collecting all of their work, but I've got a couple of things that I picked up a few months ago that I haven't read yet, and this is one of them, and I am super excited. This is one of their more recent ones, and this is kind of like a, I don't remember what the Gaines couple on HGTV. It's like them, but if they hated each other. So it follows the 2 assistants, maybe, of this remodeling and design guru team who actually really, really hate each other. And so they have to go on this tour. And these 2 assistants, for lack of a better word, I'm sure that's not their title and I'm sure they do much more than that, but they have to keep everything sane. They have to keep the 2 of them from killing each other, basically, because they're going on this tour across country to a country who thinks these 2 people love each other. So I think it's the relationship between the 2 assistants. But I'm excited about this. This sounds incredible, and I trust Christina Lauren with literally anything. As long as her name is on it, I will read it. So, I'm so excited. First punishment pick number 9. Here we go. For goodness sakes. All right. Most recent purchase. The next one is your most recent purchase, and that is like not in the last month, not in the last year, literally the last thing you picked up. So, as of recording this, just a few days ago, I got a couple of books in the mail from one author because their editions are stunning, and I really, really wanted the editions. I've never read anything by this author, so we're just gonna give it a try, and that is Curse of the Wolf King by Tessonja Odette. I got this and then a bind up of a trilogy that she wrote before this, but I'm gonna go with this one. But this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's part of the Entangled with Fae series, I believe. I believe this is the first one. I honestly don't know much about this, except for that the cover is stunning. That's really what grabbed my attention to it. But it's also signed because I got it from her Etsy specifically. Isn't that cool? But the hardcover is so pretty. Oh my goodness. Look at this stunner. And then it's got, whoopsies, a rose right there on the back. Oh, I honestly don't know much. Obviously, I will link it down below if you would like to know more about the actual intricacies of the plot, but Beauty and the Beast retelling, stunning cover and hardcover. That's really all I needed to know. Pick number 10, aka punishment pick number 2. Here we go. Read a book inspired by history. The next one is to read a book inspired by history, and I phrased it this way specifically so it's not just like historical fiction, it could be literally anything. So I'm going to go with my most anticipated release of the year that came out in June, and I'm so excited, and that is My Contrary Mary by the Lady Janeys, who are Cynthia Hand, Brody Ashton, and Jody Meadows. Now, I've talked about them so many times on this channel, but if you have no idea what I'm talking about here, this lovely writing trio created a trilogy that ended a couple of years ago called the Lady Jane trilogy, and I love them so much. And they've created a new series about Maries. And basically, these stories are, they take something or someone from history or from literature and take their story and kind of just like twist it to whatever they want. And it's always funny. So this one specifically follows Mary Queen of Scots, and I love this so much. I'm so excited for it. It's set relatively in the same world as the first one from their Jane series, which is My Lady Jane, so the same kind of like fantastical elements that happened in that book are going to happen in this book. And I cannot wait because their writing is so funny and it's incredible. So I'm very excited, but it's inspired by a historical figure, so inspired by history. Pick number 11, hopefully, knock on wood, the last one we've got here. Oh, here we go. Booktube Made Me. So the next one is Booktube Made Me, and I did do a video about books that I bought because of Booktube, so I will leave that linked above if you would like to check it out. I honestly can't remember if this is on it, but it should be if it's not. But it's one that I've been trying to read for months, and I said for sure I was going to get to July or August, so we're doing it, dang it. And that is The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. Yes, I'm finally getting around to it. The few of you have been telling me to read this. I'm gonna do it. But this basically follows a man named Linus, who is the caseworker in the department in charge of magical youth, and he is sent to this home where a bunch of kids live who are supposed to have magical powers, and he's basically going to see if they are safe or not, for lack of a better word. And I believe he falls for the caretaker, the human in charge of said house, and apparently this is fantastic, and it's great for people who love middle grade. It's like a middle grade but for adults, and I've heard incredible things about this, so I hope the hype doesn't let me down, but I'm really excited to get around to it. So this one is definitely one that I would have never discovered, picked up, probably even heard of without Booktube or some of my Bookturnet friends. So that's not true. My best friend did tell me about this, so maybe not, but I'm gonna say it because the first time I heard about it was on Booktube. But I'm gonna do it. I'm finally gonna do it. Alright, so here's my stack. I have to get on my tiptoes for this. Here's my stack of books that I'm planning on reading in August. And there's at least 2 more that's going to be added to this. Details haven't been ironed out, so for either of those. So I haven't added them to this list, but there's also more. But I was trying to not do this to myself where I had a bunch and they were thick because I don't want to like pressure myself now that I'm kind of starting to come out of a slump. But I'm very excited about a lot of these. I do have audiobooks for a lot of these, which does help. So I'm excited and nervous all at the same time. But this is a stack and it's heavy. Oh my goodness. So let me know if you've read any of the books that I am planning on reading this month, or just tell me what you're planning on reading for the month of August. Do you also have a book that you've been putting off for many months to years that you're finally getting to? Let me know. But if you like this video, and I very much hope that you did, don't forget to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you want to be part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there, as well as other fun bookish links, so don't forget to check all of those out, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.